as fate would have it, one of my favorite people's on the phone, and he just got back from Ukraine, but he's also deeply ingrained in doing the right thing, in law and order, in justice, and that would be Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Marty, good morning. Thanks for having me on. And just a quick correction. I did not go to Ukraine. The trip was, we had some issues, so I did not get a chance to go.
Oh, I apologize. It's okay. That's my fault. Hey, all right, while I have you, man, Guy, it takes your breath away, the mass shooting, sir. Where do we go, man? What do we do? What the hell is happening?
Well, we need to look at what's the underlying cause of so many of these shootings. And I would say that it's mental illness. And as my predecessor, Tim Murphy, said, it's not what's in the person's hands, it's what's in their head. And I think that the common denominator is undiagnosed or untreated mental illness. That's why I'm working on a myriad of mental health issue bills. I also think we need to seriously look at school resource officers. When I was a magisterial district judge, Marty, I could tell a difference between the kids that were coming before my bench that had a school resource officer in that school and those that didn't. And a lot of those on the left talk about community policing. I'm a big advocate for community policing. The first stage of community policing is that school resource officer in the school talking to the kids every day and just adding safety and security to that school. And that's just one thing that we can do.
Hey, Guy, the mental illness thing.
Yeah.
I get, and I have folks in my life struggling to stay alive with mental illness issue right now, anxiety and depression. But what this does is it stereotypes folks with mental illness that they're dangerous. And quite frankly, most people with mental illness would rather have a hug than a gun. And the truth of the matter is that most of these shooters didn't have a background in mental illness. So just saying we all need mental health treatment doesn't cut it for me. Second, the school resource officer. Fine on paper, but there are 130,000 schools and 6,000 to 7,000 colleges, and they all have hundreds of buildings. Then we go to banks. Then we go to grocery stores. Then we go to churches. Guy, where the hell does it stop? When we finally get to the point where we have nearly 2 guns for every American. 2.
Okay, so I'm a big gun owner, and I've never shot anybody, nor do I plan to.
I wouldn't expect you to. This isn't about you, Guy. We have 420 million guns. For you not to even address that issue is ignorant by definition.
The guns are not the problem. If you look at it...
In your mind, they're not the problem. In the mind of the kids that are dead and their families, it's the problem.
Well, I would say this. What laws could you have passed that would have stopped that shooting? Remember, we had an assault rifle ban when Columbine took place.
Which one, Guy? Which of the 20 mass shootings I've been on are you talking about? Because now we're having 2 a week.
There's not a single law that's being proposed that would stop this. What would stop it would be, one, school resource officers.
Hold on, man. You won't answer my question. What about grocery stores? What about churches?
Okay, so a lot of churches do have security, specifically synagogues.
Most don't.
Let's just go back to the schools.
No. Let's talk about America. See, everybody wants to talk about schools because it's let's protect our children. How about the folks in hospitals? You don't care about them? What about them?
Well, of course, Marty, of course I do. The issue, though, if we're focusing just on the school shootings,
Who is? I'm not. There was a hospital shooting last night, a mass murder, man. What?
Okay, so what's your goal here? Is the goal to harden schools? Is it?
I don't want to harden anything.
Because there's no law you could propose that would have stopped any of this.
I'm not asking you to propose a law. I'm asking you to suggest that we have more guns than any country on earth, and at some point, someone like you with an R beside their name is going to have to say, "My man, I don't want you taking any guns away, but we have too many guns out there." At some point, we're going to have to acknowledge that.
Well, I don't think the guns are the problem.
Well, that's your problem, because we're going to disagree on this. We go way back, because I think you're dead wrong. Until you acknowledge we have too many guns, come on, Guy.
Hold on. Switzerland has more guns per capita.
This isn't Switzerland, man. How many residents they have? 10 million. 10. Yeah.
But you're trying to equate the amount of guns to the amount of crime. It's actually the opposite. A lot of studies show that where there's more firearms, there's less crime.
Oh, really? Tell that to the folks in Oklahoma today. Tell that to the folks in Texas last week. Tell that to the folks in the grocery store in Buffalo. Tell that to them. Tell that to the folks in Pittsburgh, where there's
not a single law. Tell me a law that would stop any of this. It's illegal to go in and shoot somebody if it's not in self-defense as well.
So in no way are you ever, this is what's problem with America and with American leadership. In no way are you ever going to acknowledge that. So you say guns have nothing to do with all these mass shootings. Nothing, sir.
Well, if we had good guys with guns in the schools, like school resource officers.
Okay, there were two guys with guns at Columbine. There were two guys with guns at Parkland. There were cops with guns at the hospital. There were cops with guns in Uvalde. There you go. Good guys with guns. Everyone's dead.
So Marty, what's your solution?
I don't know, man.
Because you can't.
But until someone like you says,
then why are you busting my job?
Because you keep talking about guns aren't a problem. Guns are a problem.
It's not. If they were a problem, then why aren't they a problem in places like Switzerland?
Because they get it. Because they only have 10 million people.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you have 30 million or 10 million.
It sure as hell does.
If you're how? Because 10 million aren't going to kill people, but if you have 11 million, they work?
Because they have a different culture. Because they have a different environment. Because they're not raised on violence.
Maybe because they have significant mental health care issues. So, I mean, look, you can take this in a myriad of directions.
Right.
I would submit to you, and I would submit to you that it's really mental illness is a huge part of what's causing this.
And guns again.
If you look at
so you tell the thousands of listeners right now that guns have nothing to do with this. Please tell them. I want to hear that again.
It's the shooter and the mental, what's going on with the shooter. It's not the gun.
The gun's in his damn hands. It's become it's become the coolest weapon on earth for a teenage boy to kill everyone. You don't see that. You don't acknowledge that.
What law would you propose, though, that would solve any of this? Because I would submit to you there's not.
That's right. There isn't, because no one has the political will to do it. Guy, I love you. I appreciate your honesty. Gotta go.